everybody, I'm Indy. That guy right over there, that is Jay, and welcome to Indie Game Business. And today we have Sarah. How do you pronounce your last name?
Elmaleh.
Exactly how it's spelled, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because last week I totally mispronounced someone's name and I said it like it was spelled, and there's silent letters and
Sure.
Chaos.
So what are we talking about today, Jay?
Gamedev.World.
Gamedev.World.
The other big online conference. So Sarah, I don't know if you know, but we do one of these as well. So I understand your stress level at the moment. Except ours it's no conference, no talk, no speakers at all. It's all on the business networking side. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the industry and walk us through what you've done to this point, and then break down the Secret of Monkey Island radio show. That's
I guess I could start there, kind of, because it's actually radio dramas were how I got into voice. I mean, I do. In the short version or like the summary of what I do in the industry is that I'm mainly a voice actor, but then I have found myself kind of getting involved, kind of compulsively getting involved in the industry, the conversation, the community, in other ways. So I do labor advocacy. I work with the Actors Union as a liaison and kind of like someone providing insight and connections to developers, so that those contracts are kind of working for everybody. I've been helping Indiecade, organizing for Indiecade for a long time, and I direct and co-host their award show, or have done for the last few years. So I kind of find myself getting involved either organizing or advocating or kind of creating conversations or participating in them outside of just voiceover. So hopefully that's kind of clear. It's sort of, it kind of becomes a grab bag of whatever feels like it needs to be done. And whatever I think I have bandwidth, or sometimes even when I don't have bandwidth, to kind of try to help with. And Gamedev.World is definitely an expression of that, where we will get into kind of the origin story there, but it was part of that same impulse of kind of seeing something that felt like it needed to get done, and either no one was doing it or it just could use the help. And whether or not I was kind of up to the task, I was like, I better just get in the mix and someone else can do it better if they feel they can. But I got into voiceover. I got into voiceover in general. I fell in love with voiceover doing radio dramas in college. So I had loved games forever. I was acting. I'd been acting forever, but it was that experience of it was my first time just really having to funnel everything through just my voice, and both how the technical challenge of that, kind of the exhilaration of your voice is so. As if it's data, it's really high resolution. I mean, you really can't hide anything on the microphone. So it's a very sensitive output, and it's an interesting challenge to kind of try and put all that information through just that one little like funnel. But also it's really freeing. So I just fell in love with playing people that I didn't look anything like, and just sort of how amazing that was. And especially when I moved to New York and was starting to do theater and auditioning for other things, I loved for voiceover that my audition wasn't already 70 to 90% over once I walked in the door. I mean, I can walk in the door for a voiceover thing and no one gets to tell me what I can and can't do until they hear me on the microphone. And that's not true in most other kinds of acting. And then I think we had come to this end of the end of this series or season of radio dramas on this. I was involved in my college radio station, the Wesleyan radio station, WESU 88.1 FM.
You got to sing it.
Yeah, I don't remember the jingle. Was there a jingle? Was there a stinger? I don't think they were that. I don't think the production value is that high. We had all these ancient PSAs about going to the dentist and shit. It was so awesome. So we and I just kind of put a bid in to kind of to do this project, and it became this. We probably could have been more brutal and more disciplined as people making an adaptation, and included less of the game to make it a more functioning linear narrative piece, because it turned out to be like 3 hours long, and 3 different like over the course of 3 weeks. But I cast all my friends in it. I'm really proud of the casting job I did. I didn't know any better. Now I wouldn't do this, obviously, because it's probably illegal. But I like pulled out all the sound effects and the music cues so that we could remix them in. And so like I became intimately familiar with every single cue in that game from reconstituting the library entirely by hand. Yeah, and it's great. The Curse of Monkey Island is an amazing game. It's full of incredible voiceover that really holds up. It kind of defies the narrative that game voiceover has only just gotten better in the last few years, and it certainly has overall, but like LucasArts was crushing it way back in the 90s.
Yeah, they were.
Right? Oh my God, just classic performances that I wouldn't change at all.
And you will play some game that looks amazing, and then the voiceovers come in and it's all like mixed differently, and it just like takes you totally out of what's happening.
It does. Voiceover is one of those things where I'm sure this is true of many things, and certainly audio in general, where you sort of notice it, or you may or may not have an opinion about its quality until it's bad. But when it's bad, you notice.
Yeah, it's one of those
extremely
things.
Forward.
It's like animation. You don't know if it's good, you don't notice it, but if it's bad, you're like, this
is terrible, and I don't believe it anymore.
Oh.
Do
you stream at all? You should do roleplay streams.
That would be fun. I hadn't thought of it. I don't know. I'm slow. I'm actually a late adopter when it comes to
because roleplay, that's one of the things that I do. I do different characters. I have 2 D&D campaigns running right now for sure. Oh well, this is like you're playing in a game, and then you do the voice of the character in the game. So there's like a server with like 60 or 70 people, and everybody has like their own storylines going and their own personalities, and then you can go on Twitch and watch. It's like watching a soap opera with 70 different characters. So you can just follow each character around. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So, we can talk. Improvising?
Purely improvising.
How delightful.
And I like to play my favorite character that I play. Her name is Princess Tuna Magoo, and she's beautiful, and she talks like this, sweetie.
I love her. I had a very ongoing character with my friend Lee, where that kind of developed around the local bar in my neighborhood, as though it had been named after our friend who died in a terrible car crash, and we loved and hated her. So we would like take turns being really reverent about her, and then totally talk shit about her, even though she was dead. It was like this really. It became very elaborate, but it's a wonderful spot in the character voice spectrum.
You know what? We can talk about that after the stream. But,
sure.
Well, what's your favorite voice that you've done ever?
Oh God, I love them all. They're all my children. Let me think. My favorite voice that I've done ever. I really do love them all, and for different reasons. Like some of them, I think, were smaller voices that were part of games that had a big impact, like on home, or they were sort of delicious and different from me, like the Raider in For Honor, because she sounds like we can swear, right? I've already sworn.
You might as well, because all the other podcasts are tagged explicit anyway. I'm just like,
okay.
So
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've created a tagging job for you.
It's okay, sweetie. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It all pays the same over here, no matter what we're doing.
I'll bring over a meatloaf. I'll make it right.
Kids would be watching us in the first place.
Have you? Did you take Bobby's lobster? You got Bobby's lobster, didn't you? Okay.
Wait. So what was I was swearing because why? Because the Raider is a huge. It's just built like a brick shit house. That's why. So yeah, which is very different than how I look, which is like a half elf pixie person. But then I will say that days that have been fun at work are the ones that, like, I think when I think of like the stuff that I love the most, I think of a specific day at work. Or several. Like, so there's been some that have been like creature voices that were just really cathartic, because getting to growl and shriek and just sort of
Cookie Monster
do the most extreme. Yeah, like it's just such a and that particular game, which I kind of can't go into, it's not out yet, is just like, so the way that they conceive of their monsters is really actually psychologically rich. So it was like really emotional, but like, and just so pure. So that was super, super fun. I had another job where I was like drunk. There was a lot of drunk acting and some karaoke. So there's some singing and a dialect all at once, and just kind of juggling all those different things was really fun. And yeah, so I mean, that's kind of where I go to. But if I'm kind of thinking about like the finished product, there are games that I'm just really proud and happy to be a part of, and that's actually probably most of them to slash all of them. I don't know.
Most to slash all. Did you see that message from Mr. Barry there in the chat?
Oh no, was there a message?
I was telling Jay.
Oh, okay. I'm trusting you guys to like lift. Should I be tracking chat? Where even is it?
Yeah. Divinorum says, I always wondered how the hell people came up with monster noises. Hi, Gary. I mean, aside from distorted animal noises. Go to a rock concert, yell a lot, then eat a bunch of dairy.
I think it's like the way, I mean, oh God, no. Just phlegm everywhere.
Yeah, eat a bunch of greasy fries beforehand. That helps.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I think there's actually, I did a panel recently for SAG-AFTRA rather, for the like next generation performers, I think it was what it was called. And it was about game voice acting. And it was me, and I was moderating. And then I had D. Bradley Baker, who's just a creature voice legend. I mean, he's the guy you go to for all of that stuff. And then an America Young, who does just endless amounts of motion capture. So we kind of covered a couple different specializations. And there is a moment, it's on the SAG-AFTRA YouTube. I think it's called Leveling Up Game Voiceover or something. I think you can probably find it if you search our names or something. But D. Bradley Baker, if you aren't familiar or aware of who he is, like there's a moment on that panel where he just comes up with this like, it almost sounds like a wild boar, but it's like, it just comes out of nowhere. He just pinches his nose and uses like a regular, like it's just a microphone in this room, like in one of the rooms in the Union Building. And it's extraordinary. It's like hunting, and it's alert, and it's sniffing and snorting, and it's just like his natural speaking voice is like not super bassy and full, like just in general, and then just this like you can almost see like a well or there's like just a cavern of resonance underneath this like normal speaking voice. It's extraordinary. He's really like a treasure and a unique biz.
It's a treasure.
He's a treasure. Oh, honey. Honey. When he dies, when we lose D, what are we going to do? Sorry, what?
It always weirds me out when I see people like on TV that do these voices that are in cartoons or movies or whatever, and then you're like looking at them and you're trying to figure out, how does that sound come out of that person? That doesn't even. And Seth MacFarlane is the one that I always see, and he can go through so many voices.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at one. I don't even know where to start with that.
It's magic. It's magic. I mean, like I like freaked out on this panel. I'm supposed to be like this official moderator, like the voice of authority, and like I'm imparting all this like information to these performers, and I'm like giggling like an idiot. I'm just like so tickled. It's so like visceral, like the shock and the sort of surprise, and it's like a magic trick. It's really
with Seth MacFarlane, his different characters, you can tell that it's him. You know what I mean? You can tell. You can tell that it's him. But like if you like Rick and Morty, you cannot tell that the guy that voices Rick is the same guy that voices Morty. You can't tell. Oh, come on,
I don't
Rick.
think I knew that either.
You know, Rick.
I think one of my favorites was watching the Toys That Made Us on Netflix, on the Transformers one, finding out that Optimus Prime's voice actor is the same voice actor that does Eeyore.
Oh,
Autobots, roll out.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Two ends of the spectrum right there.
That's beautiful. What a fact. That's fantastic.
I love that show. That show is absolutely just hilariously, you get to see exactly what goes into these things. And someone made the comment on, I forgot which episode. It might have been the He-Man episode. And they're talking about how they needed a horse for him, but they couldn't find a horse. So they had this old line of toys where it was in the jungle, and they found a tiger. And one of the guys came in and it's like, this is not going to work. They're not to scale. That tiger is nearly as big as the model. And he's like, I don't care. Put a saddle on it. Now he's riding a tiger.
I did. Yeah.
Somebody on Twitter was like, yes, and this is exactly how video games are made. And I'm like,
I did see that tweet going around, and it was just this example of like, giving someone a terrible idea on purpose to like be like, see, oh yeah, like that's how it would work if we did it. Obviously not possible. And then the other person's like, great, love it, ship it, print it. And you're like, what?
Exactly.
No, oh God.
Sounds good. Roll with it.
Oh God. Mm-hmm. That's funny.
So what have you been up to for the last couple of months? I imagine it's been busy. So tell us what Gamedev.World is and what is the problem that it's trying to solve in the industry.
Sure. Okay, so Gamedev.World is a live streamed free international games conference that takes place entirely on the internet. Anyone can tune in via the links. There's no registration, no gating whatsoever. And it takes place in 8 different languages, covering, we hope, a fair spread of the globe. So you'll be hearing talks from folks in, China and Japan and Egypt and Canada and Brazil and all these other places. So it's those languages are English, Portuguese, French, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, and Russian. So the talks are in those native languages from native speakers and then translated live and captioned into all the other 8 languages. So we have this bonkers translation matrix that I am not even capable of comprehending, which is why I'm so grateful for our amazing staff. So yeah, that's the idea. But there'll be chat. Everyone in all these languages can participate. There'll be mods. There's a Q&A section after every talk, or most of the talks, as far as I know. And then there'll be the 24 hours of kind of, I could be wrong if it's like 30 something talks, will be re-aired in different time zones so that people can catch, if you were asleep during the Russia segment or something, you'll be able to catch it the following day. So that's what Gamedev.World is I don't know that anyone else has done quite that before. Which is
I don't think anyone has.
Yeah, because it's hard.
It is, and especially now. There's a couple of online conferences that have done recorded messages, because I know Pro Indie Dev and the guy that runs that is on the board with you all.
He is. He's great. He's a sweetie and fantastic.
There's another one called the Business of Indie Games out of the UK, and they do the same type thing, but they're all pre-recorded messages and pre-recorded videos. And so I don't know that anyone's ever done a live one like that. I mean, our show is live, but it's not talks. It's all it's all business networking meetings. So it's and I love this. I mean, and it's happening for the same reason that we did ours, because it is frustrating that you have so many companies around the world and so many people who need to be at places like GDC and Gamescom, but they can't afford it, or they can't get into the country, or and so I think it's amazing that we now have the tech that we can go and do all this sort of stuff. So it goes both ways. I mean, our feeling is really really that the value extends in both directions, right? So that it's giving, again, reaching folks who can't make it to GDC or can't afford to be at GDC because the cost is so vastly disproportionate, to someone like me, spending however much on a flight up to San Francisco from here. It's that burden is so much more extreme for folks around the world. And that they get to benefit from the knowledge and sort of experience and insight of folks, who are able to attend these things, which is in English most of the time, English is certainly the lingua franca of the industry. But it goes the other way too. I mean, we are barely aware in our kind of community, as in this language, locked in this language, of the games that are being made around the world and the problems that they're solving, or the way they're tackling the issues that they're facing, and just kind of the nature of their challenges and solutions are become because of what they're facing that's so different than what we're dealing with. So there's very much like games that we're missing out on, insights we're missing out on in English over here, and then there's tools and approaches and just sort of experience that they're missing out on because they don't have access to English or the spaces that these conversations take place in. So I think we're really excited about the idea that this new information flow and creativity will be running in both directions, or like at least for 24 hours or 48, I guess. And it's one of those that it's good that the industry has grown beyond. When I started, it was like you went to E3, you went to ECTS in London, you went to Melia over in Cannes, and GDC, and that was it. Those were the big shows. And now there are so many.
Yeah.
There's like 2 shows every week somewhere. You know, if you had plenty of money and you wanted to fly somewhere, you could go to a show. But
which Rami does pretty much.
I know he does. I don't know if that between him and Kate, I don't understand Kate Edwards. I don't know if they know what their houses look like.
I mean, they
because
don't spend
they're
a lot of time in them.
always flying. The good news is there's a lot of these conferences that you can go to now with the Pocket Gamers and Casual Connect and Nordic Game Conference, and there's all these small. But I think the downside is we're making the industry very cliquey because it's like, okay, I'm in Europe, so I go to Gamescom, and I'll go to a couple of the more regional shows, but that's it. I don't need to go to E3 anymore because all that stuff is here. And then you get the same thing in North America, and you get the same thing in the Middle East and in Southeast Asia. And if we're not careful, I think we are going to run into a big problem where it's like we become a very, very fractured industry. And so that's why I think things like this are important, because you kind of break down and push out of those confines a bit.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I hope that we'll like we've said, we'll be catching folks who don't make it to GDC. I mean, I am woefully underexposed to international games events myself, which bums me out. But just as an expense for myself, and then I get spoiled because, hitting GDC and E3, being in California, I feel like, well, I've done a good bit of networking and exposure and whatever. So I'm less incentivized to kind of hustle across the world to stuff, but it's not for lack of interest or desire, to meet folks in these other spaces and to catch folks that I wouldn't be catching at GDC. So yeah, it's interesting because as the industry expands, it will naturally, people's interests will be less consolidated just by nature. And that's probably a bit of that is good. They're like, you know what, I make tiny indies and I don't really kind of care about E3 or a lot of the big pressers or whoever's in, sort of AAA trends and conversations. So some of that will not speak to everyone anymore once it's no longer a niche-y thing altogether. But as far as people being isolated from each other or not getting, feeling able to talk to each other or approach each other, I think that would be a loss. And the lack of mixing of insight and kind of inspiration would be a loss for sure.
You should really go to Gamescom.
It sounds, I've heard it's so intense. I would like to. I've heard it's extremely intense.
So you've been to E3 before, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so take each one of those halls, south and east, or is it west? I can't remember. It's been a couple years since I went.
I think it's west.
But there are about 12 halls that size.
That's bonkers.
That's just the business side.
It's like a city.
Then there's another 4, 5, 6 halls that are bigger than those.
What?
That's for the fans. And so you go in and it's nothing but, Blizzard and Wargaming have their esports things set up.
Yeah.
And if you're there for business, you kind of get into the consumer side a day early just to see everything.
Yeah.
But the minute they open that consumer side, it is crazy. I mean,
I don't have claustrophobia or I'm not bad with crowds, but also I've seen photos. It's a lot.
You're breathing in other people's exhales.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, there's just so many people, and they're all. And a friend of mine told me, he said, "Yeah, people in Germany and a lot of across Europe, this is their family vacation. They come down to Cologne for this." Just to, and this is what they do all year long. And it was just, it gives you that energy. And that's why, I don't think, shows like Gamedev.World and our indie game business one are ever going to completely replace
the
ones. And I don't want them to, because
they're not, they're doing something different. So they shouldn't. Yeah.
You get the, you get that energy. I know, I do, because I've been doing this for so long. I do get to the point every now and then where I'm like, oh my God, okay, another platformer. What are we going to do now? This is like blah, blah, blah. But you get re-energized when you're around all of these other developers, and especially the fans, they get so excited about this stuff too. So
yeah. I think there's an energy. Yeah, there's definitely an energy to that's it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
I have no idea. That was like 30 seconds ago, Sarah. I don't. There's no rewinding in this show, because God knows what I was thinking 30 seconds ago.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, I think that there's a different kind of exhilaration of feeling connected live, or just in general sort of touching minds around the world that you wouldn't get a chance to meet in person, that live streamed kind of things that live online provide. And it's the same feeling you feel being on Twitter. I mean, it's a crazy bit of wizardry, which is amazing. But then there's this whole other energy, and it's very palpable. And it's, I think about New York City. I used to live in New York, and I miss New York. And there's a way of just sort of absorbing energy by osmosis from that place. It's so full of people who are filled with passion, much like a games event. And that just kind of enters your skin and kind of just accesses your system directly. And so that's fantastic. I don't see these things in competition with each other. I think that they're complementing each other. So I would hope that all manner of events continue to exist in harmony.
We're chatting about this on the stream right now, how there's more of these shows popping up, but they've all started popping up in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is good. Because
it is. Yeah.
Obviously, you do need to get out and see real people and meet people, and FaceTime is important. But at the same time, it's crazy not to take advantage of the technology that we have now.
I agree.
Anyway, all right. So my next question was, where did the idea come from? But we've already touched on that a bit. And I've seen interviews with Rami, and he's talking about the struggle getting people into the U.S.
Sure.
The one reason why conferences, sharing that information and getting everybody together is awesome as well. Are there any other? What was the breaking point when you and Rami sat down and went, okay, that's it, we have to do something about this?
So he did so it's interesting, because he was, where did the idea come from is kind of probably a little different, because he was synthesizing all of this information as he was going. And then what for me, the point was, look, he wrote a blog post about it. There's this great blog post where he just made this point that development languages, conversation, community, criticism, education, all of these things occur in English. And it blew my mind. It made sense. I was like, yeah, that tracks, but I hadn't thought of it that way before. And so reading this, and actually, I think, I had experience with a Japanese developer organizing for Indiecade. That year I was the game maker relations and kind of the single point of contact for all the developers showing at the festival, and trying to get assets from them so we could promote them and support them, and communicating with them so they knew exactly what was going on. And just the fact of me being a one-person operation and then having one developer who, and I happen to, speak a bit of Japanese. So I was able to kind of help them. But I realized immediately, as the person was kind of struggling to work with me, like me sending a very comprehensive and hopefully helpful email about all the details for the festival would be extremely taxing and difficult to parse for someone who's, for whom English is not their first language. And so it kind of, I had just come off the back of like really trying to extend myself to the person and make sure that they felt welcome and supported and safe at the festival, and like kind of like they understood what was going on. So I had just kind of had this experience being like, wow, like these events, at least as far as what I've seen, are not built to support, inherently, without sort of a bit of extra care and effort, developers in other languages. So the combination of that blog post and my experience with Indiecade made me reach out to Rami and be like, hey, Rami, so you've identified this issue, and thank you, my God, is there something we can do about it? And then that's kind of like my biggest, to date, my biggest contribution to Gamedev.World was being like, it exists, Rami, go do it, kind of, and I'll help. I'm so totally here to help. And I'm here to help. But as far as like making sense of it, Rami was the only person I knew who could actually think about how that might be tackled. And so it's his vision and his connections and his ability to kind of build this architecture in his brain of how it might actually work, that makes it a real thing. And so I'm here interfacing with speakers and kind of helping back end and just sort of plugging in wherever I can be useful to pull it off. But yeah, that's how it came about from my view.
It's good that you have years of experience in herding cats.
Yeah. Sure. So, I mean, it's vastly different in 8 languages where there's another buffer between us of our wonderful language leads. But yeah.
So is the speaker list final? I mean, who's going to be giving talks at the show?
It is final. It's not public yet. Okay. It will be public. We'll sort of toot a lot of trumpets about it when it is public. And I know that there are folks who are organizing viewing parties around the world who will be excited to kind of build their schedules or promote talks once that list is public. So I know that folks are kind of hankering for it, which is a thing you can do, by the way, and which is a wonderful way to experience Gamedev.World and kind of starts to bridge that gap between physical events and purely online events. Is we're offering a thing where, really all we're doing is listing these locations so they're easy for folks to find around the world. But already we're getting folks registering to host their own viewing party. So someone has an office or a public space or a private space or wherever they want, and they're just saying, "Hey, come here. We will or won't have snacks. There'll be coffee or not. It'll be open from this time. We're all going to hang out and stream it, as a group."
Will there be punch and pie?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that depends on the location. That's not an official Gamedev.World guarantee.
Everybody's going to have cupcakes, folks. You heard it here first.
No. Oh God. Yeah. I think that's a fun. I'm very excited about that way of people experiencing the event.
So where is it going to be broadcast?
Where?
Not like the viewing parties, but like, right. Is it on Twitch? Is it on YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
Is it just through the site? How can we watch? And 2, can we host it here on our show as well?
Yes. The answer to that is yes. I believe I don't want to speak out of turn. I believe that YouTube and Twitch have all been registered. So I've seen graphics tests, but I haven't tried. I haven't poked at the channels themselves as hosted on those various video streaming sites, but we have a number of them covered. I mean, the best thing to do is to follow the Gamedev.World Twitter, and which I think is at Gamedev.World, right? And yep. then poke onto the website. You can sign up for email updates as well. So that'll have all of those links once we're live or once we were close to announcing all of those things. But yeah, the website itself will be the best place we'll be streaming it for sure. So yeah, if you are on any of these platforms, any of the major platforms, probably expect a native stream, a hosted stream of the event. But the best thing to do is to make sure you check out Gamedev.World first and double check that. So.
And remember,
what does it cost to watch this?
Nothing. Nothing'sville. Totes free.
Nice.
Totes free.
They're even more accessible than us.
Accessibility, when accessibility is the mandate, it becomes a little bit more essential that you take it seriously.
Well, we try to keep. I mean, our ticket right now is $85 to go to ours. So because we have the same thing. We looked at all the other shows, and it's stupid that if you want to go to GDC, you're going to end up dropping $5,000 at the end of the day. You want to hear all the speakers? Okay, that's good. That's a $2,000 ticket.
Yeah. I paid for myself. Like companies don't pay for voice actors to attend GDC. So I floated my own ticket. Now I judge for an audio. I'm an audio judge for the IGF, and gives me a way in.
Did we lose you?
Yeah, we lost her.
All right, Sarah, we'll be back momentarily. We lost her mic there. In the meantime, so yeah, go to wait, no, hold on, she's typing. Are you there, Andy?
I am totally here.
Okay, all right.
Totes here.
Make sure I wasn't like talking to myself here. While Sarah gets back online, go to twitter.com Gamedev.World to follow that. The website is Gamedev.World. As always, you can follow us
there we go.
Twitter. Hey, there you go. Right,
you unbroke it. Unbroken.
I unbroke it, which is just turning it off and on, as they say, as the saying goes.
It's amazing how many things that will actually fix.
No joke.
So what? And again, I have no idea what we were talking about 30 seconds ago.
It was accessibility and free.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Making it accessible to people by letting them afford it. So, what topics are going to be covered? I mean, what are the talks going to be about?
Yeah. Again, the actual sort of speaker list and kind of talk, specific talk info is something that we will do a big flashy announce about. But it's meant to cover, there's only a couple of business talks in there. So there you go. You guys can handle that piece. But it's anything under the great grand umbrella of game development disciplines. So we have a number of art talks, we have design talks, there's a little bit of management talks, there's a couple of audio talks in there. But yeah, so any of the creative or kind of community management, or not, that's the wrong word because I'm talking about developers themselves, but managing each other, workflow kind of stuff will be on offer this year and hopefully in the future.
All right, so the show's coming up in like 2 weeks.
And you have no sleep.
I'm so tired, you guys.
So when are you going to do these announcements, being as we're staring down the barrel of the show?
Right. Soon is the answer. There's an internal date, but in case it needs to get pushed, all of them,
thank you,
then I will.
That's when it's ready. That's when we're announcing.
When it's ready. I mean, there's a hard out, obviously, because the event will happen. But yeah, it'll be a fun moment closer to the show. Yeah.
I'm sitting here flipping through my notes and seeing what we've covered and what we haven't. You said it's going to be done. We're going to be doing replays, basically. So anyone in the around the world is going to be able to catch it in at least a decent hour somewhere.
Yeah.
Are they going to be archived for posterity's sake, or is it one of those that if you
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like if you miss it, you're screwed. Sorry, we're not.
No, yeah. That's something we posted it a bunch of different times in the speaker submission form. Is like, be aware that you agree to have the work archived and available for free forever, as far as we know, in perpetuity.
Did you put in the whole universe, because that's the clause and contracts that I love.
Yeah.
It's like, we own the IP across the whole universe. It's like, really? Is that necessary?
It's so whimsical. I love it. We were like, on Mars, this will apply when we get there. Yeah.
Ha! I own the IP outside of Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah. If I go to the International Space Station, I still own it, by God.
Exactly. All right, so we got it coming in 2 weeks. It's going to be live on the show, on the website, obviously. Twitch, Mixer,
I believe for
YouTube?
sure. I want to say all of those. It's fine, and I really should know that for sure. But I know because I've seen YouTube's registered and Twitch, and I know that Mixer is a word that has been in my inbox before. So that's that's what I want to say about it. Mm-hmm. It's a word for sure. It's a word. But stay tuned on your kind of home base for everything, and that's definitive, authoritative info is the website, which will also have all of these things hosted and linked.
You've got all the sponsors up, yay!
Mm-hmm.
Of which we're one. So
you are, bless and thank you.
Yes, but yeah, you've got a lot of really, really good folks. At least on the. It's awesome that you were able to get this many sponsors too. I mean, it's just one of those things that, that's not easy. I mean, we've done this before. It's not easy to get out there and go, okay, hey, look, will you give us a couple $1,000 so we'll put your name on a website and some printed material maybe? So that's fantastic, and it just shows that,
it's great.
There is a need for this sort of stuff and a desire to support it. So that's awesome.
We're so grateful for folks like you who exactly that, who see the need, understand it, and are excited to be part of helping solve it or close the gap. And I think it's also I have to give credit to Rami. Like if I approached Facebook and asked them for money, they would be like, what? But Rami coming to people is like, his I've kind of flown under the radar as far as how I've given back to the community, but Rami is so visible, and people just trust in his vision and his ability to pull things off. And so it's really, it's amazing that we have this person at the, spearheading it, who has these connections and has this track record, that folks will take a chance on it and say, yes, like not only is this issue important, but we believe in your ability to make a meaningful difference, to make it better. So it's, we're really, really grateful. Cause by far the biggest, I'm okay to say this, but the biggest expense is the translation. The burden of being in all these different languages and trying to have them captioned, live is pretty real. That's by far the biggest bit. So we're really, really grateful to everyone who chipped in to help us kind of secure that piece and all the other pieces that are necessary to make the thing happen and look smooth and so like an engaging, pleasurable, polished, hopefully. I'm sure now I've already
there's
said
going to be there's no tech issues. Right?
There's no audio.
There's not going to be any tech issues.
In all reality, I'm assuming you're testing the system before, because we have seen other conferences like this just completely crash. I'm assuming that there's some testing going in here.
We've done graphics tests and connection tests, and then we will what's built in is having a rehearsal video from the speaker testing with us, and then that is also ideally pristine enough to use as a backup video in case anything should go horrifically wrong. Testing is an important part of this particular operation. And I was going to say something else. Oh, about the second day of the other thing too, is that most of our speakers, I think all of them, but certainly most, have agreed to answer Q&A, like questions that come up on the second day after the fact. So I mentioned that the first day is live, and then it's shuffled and re-aired on the second day, whatever was captured the first day. But folks who are hopping in that chat and asking questions on the second day when they're watching a recorded version, we will hopefully have a robust team of mods there as well to capture those questions and get them to speakers who will have, I think, a couple of options for ways that they want to answer those publicly after the event is over.
See, I didn't realize y'all were going to do business calls, or I would have put a submission into.
Those were pretty specific to the market in question, unlike the pitch, because it's not a business conference. It really isn't. But there are some markets or ideas that were presented that were just sort of either special and or tackling something that was mysterious and exciting and kind of sexy in a way that made it kind of stand out. And so we might have made a couple of exceptions, but it's not, the gist of the conference is definitely not business, because it's harder we found that it was sort of going to be difficult to make universal. That was kind of our benchmark, right? So specific to that, to a community, but also with a relevance or an applicability or kind of that would speak to as wide an audience as possible. And in some markets, it's just so the quote unquote business knowledge or given business, what you should or shouldn't do may or may not have that kind of applicability outside of that market. So that was kind of why we stayed away from it.
That it's true, but there's also a lot of aspects of, anything from pitching to publishers to, if you're going to self-publish, pricing and all this stuff, that it's universal. It's something that we see from, developers, whether they're in North America, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, Middle East, South America. There are some big issues that's the reason we have this show.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why you're here. Yeah.
That was my frustration. It's like, okay, no one is teaching these people how to do the business side of it.
Right. So, like you've made it, you're creative, you've made a beautiful game. Actually communicating it to people is a huge hurdle. And so it's great that you guys are tackling that for folks.
Yep. So what has been the biggest challenge so far?
I mean, the part that there's the challenge that I haven't even touched because it's beyond me is logistical. I mean, just again, the matrix of figuring out the translation, how it should operate physically and literally when we're trying to pull off the event, getting the tech in place, kind of speccing everything out, testing it out, building a workflow. We have custom software. I mean, what part of it is it? Yeah, it's hard for me to pick the biggest challenge. I mean, then there's the communications challenge of having, folks giving their time and energy to be a point person and a bottleneck for our speakers in these 8 different languages. So, I mean, I think, to me, I would guess logistics, but at the same time, just the fact of multiplying that across 8 languages is sort of mind-boggling. It's really mind-boggling. So it's a miracle that it's moving forward at all.
Are working? How many people do you have on the team that are working on it all told?
That's a good question. Well, our board is what, 5? Is that right? Including it's on our website. It's just Sam, Gabrielle, Gwen, right, me, Rami. We have an amazing event producer without whom this wouldn't be working. So I'm executive producer, and that means I plug in wherever I can. I help architect stuff as best I can, or in charge of communications really. And then our event producer is a wizard at spreadsheets and scheduling and kind of figuring out how to wrangle all of our language leads as well. So she's phenomenal, Miriam LaChapelle. So add her, and then add each of our language leads. There's a handful of folks on the logistics side. I want to say 3 or 4 folks maybe on that side of things. Our software developer. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Does that make it 20?
We'll go with a lot.
We'll go with a bunch. Just like a bunch.
No grip. They're full.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, when it comes to, so now we're going to go completely off the beaten path and the chart and just stuff that I'm just morbidly curious about.
Sure.
What tech are you using to simultaneously broadcast all this stuff?
That one I don't know. I mean, I barely understand it. We've done a graphics test, so I've seen that. I mean, we'll be switching, eventually we'll have an HQ. We'll have the wild part of actually pulling this off is I think it will feel a lot like my experience on radio, or almost like running a TV show live, like a news show.
We're gonna have the trailer with all the different screens in it, and
it'll be nuts. Oh my God. Well, yeah, I mean, we'll be piping in one talk from, wherever Egypt, and then we'll have to pull the switcher and pull in the feed from Japan, and we'll be in the HQ with, the translators, the interpreters and velatypists, all in isolated rooms in the same building as we're kind of trying to do that and making sure everything's working. And we'll have our software developer on call, hopefully on call most, if not all of the time, although 48 hours is a long time for anyone to be awake, to kind of help put out fires. So, but honestly, Rami would be the better person to ask about, we're using this for this and that for that. so that it all works, because I'm like, what is this? I still use I've self-engineered my own sessions from home for a long time, but even still, my pipeline, my workflow is the same as it has been for 10 years. I just use I use an Apogee 1 interface to GarageBand and Audacity. That's what I do. And I refuse to learn new skills. So that's not my forte.
I can't answer the technical questions either. That's Indy's realm of expertise.
Probably an RMTP server. That's the thing where you can pipe in different things so that the stream does not go offline when you start and stop different things.
Sources. Yeah. Cool. Sure. Yeah,
we'll go with that. Good job.
Until proven otherwise. Yeah.
So what are the probabilities of the next time this comes up that, Rami's going to use his frequent flyer miles to, over the course of 24, 48 hours, make an appearance at every single viewing party around the world?
God, I don't think that would. That's a Santa Claus question. That's literally Santa Claus.
Tooth Fairy. Maybe it's more Tooth Fairy than Santa.
He's
sure.
got to
have to leave a tooth out for Rami to show up. That'd be funny. That's Rami's speaking fee, like appearance fee. It's just like a tooth pulled straight from your mouth. Oh my goodness!
I have a 7-year-old. He asked me what the tooth fairy does with the teeth, and I was like, I don't know. Probably something disgusting. I don't, I can't imagine.
Almost assuredly.
Why they collected their memories.
Yeah, why is you're like, why do they need teeth?
Didn't you see that show that had the Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Jack Frost, and it showed what the Easter Bunny did? The Easter Bunny is, believe it or not, Australian.
Oh.
And Santa Claus has tattoos. He's like a badass biker.
I do know that. I know what you're. I can't remember the name of it.
Animated?
I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now.
And then Jack Frost, and then God, I can't remember. Anyways, yeah, it's a cartoon, and it showed like the Tooth Fairy, or not the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny's. Easter Bunny's Australian, but yeah, the Tooth Fairy. There's a bunch of fairies, and they collect all the teeth and memories.
Cute.
The Legend of the Guardians. That's it. You got it.
Yes, it's like Guardians or something. Yes. Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
where Santa's like this badass biker dude with tattoos on him, and he's got like naughty tattooed on one hand and nice tattooed on the other, or something like that.
Lol. That's funny.
But he's got a Russian accent.
Biker.
He has a Russian accent.
I like that too.
Yeah.
I'm liking this Santa.
Yeah.
I'm here for this Santa.
You could pull off that Santa at Christmas, Indy.
I you know what? I don't think I'm ever gonna go gray. My beard maybe, but my hair. My dad is in his late 80s, and he doesn't really have gray hair, except for his facial hair.
Wow, what?
I know, it's crazy.
That's astonishing.
I know, crazy.
Lord,
my son likes to, point out mine. As soon as he can. Dad, you have a gray hair. I'm like, yeah, it's your fault. So
that's you.
Remember that time when you did this? That's what this one right here is from.
Totally fine till you came along, and now it's like so. We're getting close to our time here anyway, Sarah, and we know that you may have other things that you probably need to be doing other than just shooting the shit with us on Twitch. And
that's what producers do, though. They just go and talk a bunch, right? They don't really do anything.
Yeah.
No one knows what producers do, and there's the question of, do they do anything? Yeah.
I've been a producer and an executive producer, and you're not wrong. It's
it sure feels like, I mean, it's funny because I don't stress out about voiceover anymore. Like it's just pleasurable. It's really like, I mean, my job is to make sure that that I get enough sleep and I'm hydrated, and just like physical care and kind of mental presence. But like once I get there, it's like, it's not stress, it's just joy. And then I like, get involved again compulsively, just reflexively in this other thing, and and try and do something else that like doesn't pay. It's just for because I want to help games, and it will just take years off my life. Years.
I'm gonna have to get you into some role play streams.
Sure.
I'll
send me the best. Send me the stuff.
I'll message you afterwards. Show you what it is. Do you play games? Do you play like first person, third person adventure type games?
So I mean, we're still talking digital games, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, adventure games are my fave. RPGs are my fave.
I mean, like Conan Exiles or Ark or Atlas or those kind of games. No? Okay.
Then no.
All right. I'll message you after this.
I'll be meeting a new genre. Have fun.
Jay has to go and do something. So watch and tune in to Gamedev.World June 21st through to the 23rd of 2019. That's right. And it's just 48 hours straight, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, my assistant was standing outside in the rain looking at me going, open the door, a-hole.
Oh, sad puppy.
Now she's going to come in here and snore, which all of our viewers.
That should be our alert, is a snore.
It really is.
That's very funny.
I have to check the bottom of the bed at night and go, all right, wake up.
Yeah. You're snoring.
And I know she's like, you snore too, and I'm thinking about, I don't hear me,
Yeah.
It's all good. So it was. Let's talk about the voiceover part here for just a second again.
Sure.
Folks that want to get into voice acting, where do you suggest they start?
For games specifically?
Yes.
Okay. I would say you're going to need a reel at some point. So I would start, but also you need to become, if let's say that you've started and you're like, I know that I can make different voices, which isn't necessarily true. I mean, there's a lot of great, like Ashley Johnson doesn't do a lot of different voices. She just acts. She's just a brilliant actor. And then she's cast to sound like what she sounds like. But you're an actor and you're curious about voices, or you know that you've got a bit of range. The biggest piece is to make sure that you have or develop mic technique. You can get cheap podcasting mics that still sound pretty good. The Blue Yeti is great, or the Snowball. Those are great entry-level mics. I would start recording, writing down and practicing copy. So write down game dialogue. I play games and parrot back at them all the time, whether it's an effort, like a certain noise that someone made, jumping or punching or whatever, or I parrot back dialogue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just get in the habit, because I mean, the thing is, for game voices specifically, is you're going to have to make really goofy sounding stuff with minimal prompting, and you can't be embarrassed. There's no time or space for you to be embarrassed. You have to be completely shameless. So getting used to that and making sure that you can do all those sound sets, kind of freely and safely. You're going to want to practice that so that you know what voices you can do safely for long periods of time, not just like making a weird voice that's really hard on your voice, right? And all of that other combat stuff safely. Yeah. So, I mean, practicing your mic technique, practicing copy from games, eventually, working with a coach. I would say work with a coach try and find a coach that you trust to tell you when you're ready to cut your demo. Someone who's not going to milk you for tons of private lessons beyond what you need, but also who won't just kind of pre-sell you on like a package set. Because anytime they're like, oh, in 2 weeks, you're going to be ready to cut a demo. You're like, really? Everyone's going to be ready in 2 weeks to do a demo? For sure. So try and, find a fit with a coach who's like, oh, great, you're ready. Because when you make your demo, your first impression, you only get first impressions once, right? So your demo is both something that you need right out of the gate. The sad paradox of demos is something that you need right out of the gate, but at the same time, you need to be in a place of being super ready once you do it.
And you want to put your best stuff first and your second best stuff last. So you wow them in the beginning and then wow them at the end, so you get remembered.
But find out. I mean, you're going to spend all that time you're spending parroting,
and add a little reverb.
Oh God.
So, where do you find a coach?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I haven't done much coaching here in LA. I had a great coach, a couple good coaches in New York. I would look for folks. I mean, that'll be up to you to Google in your market or if you can patch in, with tech nowadays.
Skype,
but I would look
Skype
for someone
coaches.
Who's worked a lot, like either look for testimonials from people that you respect in games, names that you know, or maybe they have credits that you know, but look for someone with a long track record of IMDb credits or games that you recognize, and ideally with testimonials from people that you also respect would be one way to kind of vet them, and then have a call with them and see how it feels to work with them. But yeah, I do recommend coaching to prep for your demo rather than doing it blind. From there are sites that you can post that demo on, and now that you have your home set up, which you can continue to upgrade as you go and invest more, there's a lot of overhead investment in voiceover. I mean, whether it's materials or a home setup, or training, it costs money, and you need to be available. Ultimately, voiceover at the highest level takes place in business hours at very short notice. So you're going to look at, oh yeah. Like I just got a call from my agent, that's why I was bumped off the call. And they're like, can you move your thing back to thing? I had to drive suddenly out of nowhere to the Valley, which for me, that's, Los Angeles talk, but was an hour, with 2 hours notice to go to a casting director yesterday. So you are expected to be available all day during the day. So it becomes really difficult to schedule anything that can't move during your business day. So that's something that you're looking at. You're looking at how, to support yourself in the meantime around that schedule, and make money as that's a really tricky, growing pain, as to how to make money while you're kind of becoming available for that. So yeah.
Welcome to Game Dev.
Yeah.
Some of these things don't change no matter what you do. They you get the same issues.
Being on call. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to share with the crowd and the masses? Because, like the show y'all are putting on, this one is available forever. We post these up and we'll have the podcast up later this weekend, and it's out for perpetuity. Is there anything else you want to share? You want to talk about in the meantime?
Gosh. Well, I am slowly starting to find, I guess, stay tuned for other news in the world of helping folks with the voiceover pipeline specifically. I'm working on building some materials and services that are meant to bridge the gap between indies who have narrative ambitions or just want really good voiceover but don't know anything, into using, all the way up to using union talent and hiring studios and getting, and learning how to talk to actors or how to hire directors to get really good voiceover in your game. So that to me is another need that I've seen in the time that I've been doing this, because I came through indie games up into AAA, right? Unlike most voice actors who fell sideways into, games from animation. So my network, my community is developers and indies especially. So that's something I would say that what I will say to folks is, like, I'm aware that that's a need, that there's this gap of knowledge or connections to knowing how to do that. And I'm working on tackling that for folks, and ideally in a that at least partially democratic, just kind of info sharing for most folks to have access to. So keep your eyes peeled for that, I guess, via my Twitter or something.
Follow me on Twitter,
sweetie. Twitter somewhere. I posted it earlier. It's in here.
It's at Elmaleh. All of my things are all of my public profiles, including my SoundCloud, where you can find the ridiculous college era Curse of Monkey Island radio drama, are all Elmaleh. So
awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much, you guys.
Oh no, this is awesome. We love it. So keep us updated. I'm on the email. I think I'm on the email list for Gamedev.World, but we'll definitely we'll host it here on this channel when you go live on Twitch. Are you a big Discord user? Will you stick around our Discord?
I think you guys can probably tell based on my trying to get and stay connected that I'm not actually I'm in a bunch of Discords, but I'm not like a super experienced Discord user. Not so much. So I will, but I'm always tweet editable. I return my mentions and stuff. If something pulls me into a Discord for some reason, or someone points my attention to it, I will hop in and figure it out. But I don't tend to lurk or live in them very much currently.
It gets to be a lot when you find a whole bunch of servers that you want, because I'm the same.
Yeah.
I have like all of these servers, and then Indy showed me where you can get a mod that you can put them in folders, and I'm like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. All right, so for folks that are interested, you can reach out to Sarah on Twitter. You can find me or Indy on the Discord if she's around to the Discord, and ask questions, and we will pipe it in. Go to Gamedev.World.
Yes.
And get signed up. It goes live in about 2 weeks, and then we'll host it here as well. And then, as always, on the self-serving side of it, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Where else are we, Indy? It's all down below.
Tinder.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's hard to find someone on Tinder.
Yeah, you can go to our YouTube page. Has not only our videos, but also curated lists of speakers at other industry events that are public. And then, as always, we've got our business event coming up in about a month. Actually, a little over a month. So you can go to indiegame.business and find that as well.
What's the dates for those?
The 15th and 16th of July. Yes. We're going to do one every 3 months because it was that well.
Yeah, the first one we had over 100 attendees.
That's great.
It was awesome. I loved it.
Oh my gosh. Well done.
And it's like you have an idea. It's like, I think this might be a good idea. And then people actually chime in. They're like, we think it's a good idea too. And you're like, yes, I'm not an idiot. So
magic.
Exactly.
Magic. That's what producing is worth. Is like the thanklessness and just terror of producing that's the payoff.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much.
Thanks,
this
Sarah.
is awesome.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
When Rami touches down somewhere, give him our best. And we'll go from there. I'm assuming you'll be at E3.
Yes, I will.
Enjoy. I won't be. But I think unless someone's got a question, that's it for today.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much, you guys. I'm gonna pop off.